On last episode, I crossed to the Bahamas on a tiny boat with my buddy Jake, Ryan, my dad, and Derek. I went through my Polespear setup. We did a ton of primitive diving, and here we go on part 2 of this epic trip. Ryan's got white stuff all over his face.
We had a good day already.
What is it?
Ryan's already having too much fun.
Plug them. We'll cook it up tonight.
You guys, welcome back to the voiceovers and welcome underwater. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, help push this video around, and like always, I'm gonna walk you through and talk you through all of my dives that I do, as well as some of the dives that the other divers on the trip are doing. The first footage is of Ryan's GoPro. He's making a drop. I think we're kind of working a reef ledge here. I'd say roughly 70 feet. You can see a really good tactic he uses is he's scanning and spinning as he's descending. That way he can see any fish coming in on him, and he can be prepared and know which way to face whenever he hits the reef. Now this is a really cool dive. He plays it perfectly. He's scanning around, but the main goal is to look off this ledge, and that's where a ton of fish are. And now there's some dog snapper going in and out of the reef here, as well as these reef sharks, and they're not really paying him any attention until he shoots a fish. Taking his sweet time. I don't know if he was waiting on the sharks to pass, but he lands a good shot. And whenever you make a close shot like that to the sharks, it usually freaks him out, and that's what happened on this dive, and that's how he was able to get this fish. Was once he shot it, you saw those sharks just dart away, and now if they were off in the distance, they would come in really hot and have a better chance at the fish. But this way they took off, and that gave him a time to get it out of the reef and pull it all the way up to the surface and up to himself. You see the sharks were there just a little bit too late, and by that time we had other divers on him ready to fend off sharks. So if you haven't seen last episode, be sure to check that one out after this one. We started off diving in pairs, and it was Ryan and Jake, and it was also Derek and myself. So Derek was with me. He took a dive on this nice Spearo, and he just dive bombed it and landed a killer shot. So that's exactly what you want to have happen. No worry about sharks or anything coming after your fish if there's no sporadic movement in the water. But while we were gutting this fish, something came into the chum and the guts, and this is why we always try to gut our fish.
Instant death.
Yeah, let's go. So that'll be fun.
As Derek and I are gutting that Spearo, Ryan had already put his dog snapper in the boat. He's making a drop, same deal, working this reef ledge, trying to do the same tactic of going all the way to the bottom, working his way around the reef, doing some grunting, doing some scratching on the reef, trying to pique some curiosity of some of these snapper. And mind you, this is before hogfish and grouper has opened. We're not allowed to bring back any hogfish or grouper on this trip, so our main target are snapper, and boy did we see them on this trip. Mutton snapper, cubera snapper, dog snapper, you name the kind of snapper, and we saw it. It was really cool to see. In this winter diving, that's really, you seem to see a lot of fish like that. He was able to see a mutton off in the distance, and you could see him kind of hide himself in this, like on the reef edge, and he's just piquing the curiosity, and he takes a quick little, I think he lunges at the fish a little bit and lands a good shot. And with these Polespears, the Headhunter slip tip is by far my favorite of all time. I mean, you can see this shot, he shoots him right, and we have some funny dialogue at the surface. When he shoots him, almost anywhere you hit him, there's a high chance, if that slip tip's engaged, there's a high chance you're going to land that fish, especially one that's not a giant. So this one's perfect. He shot him right in the tail end. It was enough to hold him, and we got this nice mutton, another one to add to the box.
It looked pretty good, didn't it?
That was good. It's like you know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah, I know, and then I shot him in the asshole.
Dude, they give you a point blank shot, you shoot him right in the eye. Now we go back to our footage, and as we were gutting that Spearo, a big African pompano came cruising in. Now I went to turn my GoPro on, but I ended up actually shutting it off. So I gave it an extra second, hoping that this fish was literally gonna go right under us. I had my eyes on him. Derek ended up looking at me and he's like, all right, if Jack's not gonna dive, I'm gonna dive. So he dove and he ended up dropping the Spearo he shot. So I went ahead and picked that up. I saw Derek in hot pursuit. He starts to chase after it, kind of just throws out a Hail Mary, hoping his slip tip would engage. He actually had a much better shot than I thought he did. He was a lot closer than I had thought. Watch this next video of Ryan, who's just a little ways down the reef and runs into this AP. So now Ryan was on a blind dive and Jake was right above him and started like hollering at him from the surface, and that caused Ryan to look up and look around, and sure enough that AP came right in. He turned his GoPro on and landed a really good shot. And now he said he should have horsed him, but he didn't, and luckily the sharks weren't too aggressive. Maybe it was because of the size of the fish, but they got him up. Jake got another holding shot on him, and then they had 2 Polespears hoisting this guy to the surface. Solid fish, and not that sharky of a time, which is very unusual. But if you haven't had African pompano, they're absolutely delicious, and it's quite a feat to get them on Polespear, and such a thrill. Highly recommend. Again, just beautiful fish, really tough, hard fighting fish to get, especially on Polespear. Quick jump back over to Derek and I's little diving session we had here. Same thing, there was a nice cloud of muttons that came in. In this one, he kind of doesn't really bum rush it, but he veers towards that direction. You see the fish isn't freaked out at all. You could see Derek was not kicking leading up to this fish, and I think that was key. If he started really hauling butt towards it, the fish would have probably taken off. He knew he had a good shot, really kind of put some juice on it to get it up away from the sharks. You could see why. If he left it down there a little longer, high chance the sharks could have gotten after it, but he quickly pulls it into himself, gets a hold of the fish, stops struggling. Solid mutton for Mr. Derek Van Hook. Now, like I said before, all of these guys have their own channels. If you have not seen the first episode of this, it was an epic adventure. You see where we were camped out, all this good stuff. So be sure after this one, take a look at part 1. You can watch them out of order. It actually works out that way. Didn't plan for that, but it just worked out. But here we go. We're in about 90 feet to the sand. Some incredible structure, and this is Jake's GoPro. He's descending towards, I think he probably saw this dog snapper around this hole earlier on, and he starts loading up. This thing comes out to kind of give him a shot, lands it right in the face. As this was happening, Ryan and I were actually dealing with something a little ways away from the reef. It included sharks, and you'll see that in part 1. This was literally going on while Ryan was also shooting a fish. It was just such a good day. Solid fish for Jake. Also on a pretty deep dive, especially for using Polespears. We quickly switch over to my GoPro, and we're diving the same area, and our goal was to get a black grouper to cook tonight for dinner. I saw this black from the surface. Actually, I don't even think I saw it. I saw it as I started descending. It was really cool because Derek actually followed behind me with the pro camera, underwater camera, so you can kind of get a third-person view of how I'm approaching this guy. He kind of darts off into the sand. Like I said, you could see the pro camera view. I start following this guy, spear loaded, and he's about to head into this hole. So I kind of gave it a little toss, hoping that I would stick him, but I was just a little bit high. And unfortunately, because like I said, I did not want to have to deal with him going in a hole, spearing him, get him all rocked up when we're in like over 70 feet. So just let it fly. If I would have hit him, I probably would have hit him and just pulled it out immediately, try to fight him out from that hole, which it would have been very possible because he was kind of a smaller fish, but had to cut my loss on this guy. Ryan actually got redemption on another grouper, and that was in last episode.
hit it. That was like my last chance to get him before he went in that hole. Ah.
This is some crazy stuff. Now we drifted into a little bit of shallower water, but man, it was sharky. A really good dive from Ryan here. He's at the bottom for quite some time, and I believe it's around like 60, 70 feet that he's at right now. Goes to the sand, and like I said, we were getting snapper, which was mutton, dog snapper, which you've already seen, and cubera. But this, we haven't really seen any cubera shot. They've been really tricky this trip, but Ryan plays it perfectly on this drop, and the cuberas were around, but I always seem to find out when there's cuberas around, the sharks are always around too. So he goes down to the sand. We already seen cuberas in the area, so he knows if he goes down, kind of piques the curiosity just a little bit, does some scratching, grunting, he's going to pull in some cuberas. And so they're not huge, but they're perfect eating size off in the distance. He sees them come in, so that's when he starts loading up. A lot of people ask when I start loading up my spear. If I see a fish that I'm dive bombing, I load it up at the surface. If I see a fish as I'm going down and I'm sitting on the bottom, once I see a fish, I'll start loading up. And that's exactly what Ryan does. And these fish just literally just thud and they move, change directions. And it's really hard to pinpoint where they're going. This one gives him just enough space, and he tags him, which is perfect. You see that slip tip engage. He's already running out of air, so he lets out his belt reel a little bit. Derek and I are in hot pursuit because we know the sharks are around. You should see him there. And this thing is literally in the jaws of this shark. Derek goes down, grabs the spear. I'm also down there. This is my GoPro vantage point. Same thing. I know Derek has Ryan. He's pulling up the spear, so now have my spear tip off. I'm ready to poke away any sharks.
Just barely out of his mouth.
There you go, dude. He's in the jaws. He's in the jaws. Did he get some scrapes?
He got scrapes, bro. He was in the jaws of death. Look at them all down there.
Bro, once that happened, I was like, oh, dude.
There's your 5-pound black.
Now we bounce back into a little bit of deeper water, and even if you don't get to the bottom, there are pelagics, and this is a prime example, and this is why I have my little throw flasher. I saw this nice Spearo cruising by, so I threw my little throw flasher, and once I see that Spearo change direction, I start swimming directly at the throw flasher, and I point my spear at it, hoping that Spearo goes right to it, which it does, and does it perfectly on this dive. So I'm sitting there holding my spear, have my GoPro running. Once I see him change direction, haul butt down there as fast as I can to the throw flasher, and you'll see the Spearo actually trying to beat me there. Again, there are sharks around, so I need to make sure I make a good shot and horse him up a little bit. Yeah, you see him kind of haul butt to the flasher. Luckily, I'm able to grab the flasher, and he kind of didn't really check it out too much, but he hung out enough to get just close enough for me to tag him. And again, you see that slip tip just work perfectly, and I have it on my belt reel, so I'm able to shoot and give him some slack initially on that initial run, because that's when they go crazy and pull out. After that, I'm able to pull them up. They're pretty worn out after that initial burst of energy, and also when you hit them in the tail, you kind of take out their motor a little bit. Jake was right next to me, and he saw that I just clipped the tail, so he went ahead and put a headshot just to make sure we secure the fish. No sense in senselessly injuring a fish. Make sure you're responsible, secure the fish, and it was a nice Spearo to add to the box.
Thank you. I saw it was hanging on by a thread.
I was gonna stay buttoned or not.
Yeah, it was holding on by a thread. I could tell.
Now that the day was winding down, we kind of stopped diving, we grabbed a bunch of conch, and we headed to this remote island to camp on and spend the rest of the evening just enjoying nature, enjoying being out there on the water, disconnected. I showed you guys my tent setup as well as what we cooked for the night, and all this was on last week's episode. I woke up and did something really special, so stay tuned. Bro, no way. On artificial. Check this out. Look at this. This is nuts. Bro, keeper Ming. Look at that. On Yozuri. And I saw another one following it, so I'm gonna give that one a go. When you grab these guys, make sure you push their spines down. But yeah, holy crap. Was not expecting that. This is a 15-inch Ming. Solid. Make sure you watch their teeth too, because they call them snappers for a reason. Look at that, dude. All right, I'm gonna set this guy down, and then I'm gonna try to catch another one. But yeah, that's nuts. I saw another one with it. Was not expecting that at all. On a Yozuri, little swim bait. Here we go. There's like, I guess there's debris out here. Old mangs. That's a good one. Oh, shoot. Oh, Cuda. Bummer. Got a Cuda. I guess you got to go through these guys to get the big ones. All right, one more cast, then I'm done playing. Oh, dude, needle. Poundfish. A snapper just came at my guy, and I found out where they're at, so. Here we go. No. Okay, good. Those houndfish are gnarly. Feels like a snapper. Dang, another keeper. Holy crap. Oh man, this guy got torched by a, hold on. I'm gonna get it so you guys can see this side of it. Look at that. I don't know if that's fresh. Well, I'll show you in a second. Look at this guy. He got absolutely throttled by something. Probably a Cuda. Look at that. See that? That's nuts. Another keeper. I'm gonna bring this back and see what the guys think. Was not expecting to catch a couple of mangs today. But shoot, hey, since we're not diving, it's not a bad option. We're about to pack up, and I literally was like, I'll take my rod, just walk around the island. Was just blind casting, and sure enough, hit the mother load of snapper. All like 12 to 15 inch mangs. And I don't know about you guys, but I love me some mangs. But yeah, there's like a little trough out here. And yeah, had some fish on it. Yeah, catching them on a little Yozuri, on a little Carbon X Pissy Fun rod. Yeah, that was fun. All right, I'm gonna make my way back to the guys and see what they're getting into. Walk back to the boat, just on this slick side of the island. Makes it really amazing. Hey, we didn't get skunked today. I got 2 like 15 inch mangs.
Nice.
Caught them on the artificial. Isn't that nuts?
That is pretty nuts.
Dude, they were smoking it right at the shoreline.
That's cool. Pretty awesome.
And you guys, that was an awesome time diving. Crystal clear water. Love taking other people out, especially people who do a lot of videoing, because I think it's really good to get other people's perspective. If you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it that thumbs up. If you're new, consider subscribing. It's free for you guys, and I do trips like this all the time. If you have any questions, comments, leave them down below. And like always, I'll see you guys next week for another adventure. Later.